There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around. What do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters. The very minds of the people we are trying to save. Until we do, these people are still part of that system. That makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Are you listening to me, Leo? Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening?
Personally, I'm a bit obsessive about the pursuit of not being wrong, which is very different than the pursuit of truth. I find that reality is unknowable, and each individual has their own truth. My work is about the bigger societal picture of what builds a safe and free community. I discovered that understanding policing was really about understanding crime, and understanding crime was really about understanding human behavior. From this path, I have made claims that I wish to be held to the strongest levels of debate and scrutiny. Anyone willing to publicly debate anything I have stated, please reach out and do it. There is no need to write cowardly articles or play gossip girls on social media. I'm right here. Anything about policing, gun control, violence, crime, race, mass organizations, media, and such, email info@imembermedia.com. And someone will respond to arrange a discussion to be posted right here on the Nuance podcast and video broadcast. Here are some of the arguments I make that supposedly have many willing to debate but never seem to show up. Not a single police department is fighting the things that cause crime. All violence is a biological malfunction. There are 4 outstanding correlates to violence and crime. In order of prominence, they are environmental toxins, resource inequality, local instability, and the use of state-sanctioned violence. The Second Amendment prevents the superior right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Second Amendment is the recipe of police killings. That means killing cops and killer cops. The difference between gender and sex is simple, and there are limitless genders. There is no such thing as being transgender. I have found that the history of American policing has a foundation of 3 pillars which continue to define the fundamental functions of policing in the United States. They are the first and primary pillar of American policing, the creation and maintenance of oppressed classes, from which resources are extracted to institute continued oppression. Second is the valuing of superior class property over the lives of oppressed classes. And third, the continued genocide of the indigenous nations of North America. All media pundits are phony intellectuals and will only debate the ignorant or other media pundits who are in on the game. It is impossible for the current structures to fix policing to serving the people. The police must be restructured to take orders from the community, not institutional power systems. There is no free will. And I'm sure there are plenty more if you choose to look. So if any of these or any of those strike you or are something you want to argue, then do not just sit there. If you think your favorite pundit will destroy me in a debate, then do not tell me. I don't give a damn. Petition them to further the discussion. I will always be respectful. I will not insult, but I will do the most offensive thing that you can do to another person. I will treat you like an equal. Email info@imembermedia.com or go through the website, imembermedia.com. Reach out. And we're back with the final part of the Humanist versus Environmentalist series with the host of Last Born in the Wilderness podcast, Patrick Farnsworth. In this shorter episode that ends with Patrick's exasperation with me, or rather my arguments. And that Freudian slip has long been a problem with scientists and scholars speaking to the public. When you are pushing the conventional wisdom, the pushback does not feel like it is coming at your ideas. It feels as though it's coming at you. And this is very much like the backfire effect that was spoken of earlier in this debate series. Once again, see You Are Not So Smart.com, very good podcast that has an episode that talks about this. People tend to feel my questioning as a personal attack and respond similar to a physical attack, and will even begin to use the terminology of the physical world. They'll say things like, "You are attacking me," that verbalize the behind-the-scenes biology. When I state that Patrick is exasperated with me, I'm doing a very similar thing. Patrick is exasperated with my ideas. But that is difficult to process. I often feel as though the only solution is to take an elitist position, only speak to other scholars as peers, and treat the general population as naive and uneducated. This just goes against my nature and my scholarly desires, even if I'm a conduit of negative interactions with science. At least it is an interaction with science. Getting people and science closer together is an underlying goal of my scholarship. It is why I speak the way I do, like a lower class Marine cop, aggressive person that I am, and not the elitist reflection of my resume. I mean, yet I often fail at that too, and put on a public mask that chooses inauthentic words. In this episode, we attempt to focus on the question, what is your view of human nature in relation to the natural world? Things that are brought up are the Exxon Valdez and Horizon oil spills, the cycle of life, the food chain, obviously my abrasiveness, and is social media unnatural? Which I think we should talk about that at some point in time. Please enjoy the last of this. It's a little short. And again, I invite everyone that wants to improve it to reach out or to debate some of these ideas with me. It's not supposed to be personal. We're just debating ideas. Enjoy.
Nuance. Noun. A subtle difference in or shade of meaning. Expression. Or sound.
Nuance. Noun. A subtle difference
Nuance.
in or shade of meaning.
Noun.
Expression.
A subtle
or
difference
sound.
in or shade of meaning.
Noun.
Expression.
A
or
subtle
sound.
difference in or shade of meaning,
Noun.
expression, or sound.
Noun. A subtle difference in or shade of meaning, expression, or sound.
Right, 2 hours.
Almost. Let's get this
something
last
like
one out.
that. What would be my last one?
Oh, what is my view of human nature in relation to the natural world?
Yeah, like I guess what evidence would be sufficient for you to recognize human cause? Oh, that's not it. What is your view of human nature in
Yeah.
relation to the natural world?
So yeah, we
Let's
can do
just
that quickly
do that
because
one.
we kind of hit some of this, but it's relatively one and the same. I think human nature and the natural world are absolutely indistinguishable. We are nature, plastic bags, bombs, fentanyl, airplanes, skyscrapers. I think it's all natural. I think you and all other humans are just more apes. That beautiful birds make
Sure.
beautiful birds' nests out of plastic, and they stand proud of those things. And
Hmm.
I just like we were saying something earlier, and I wrote a note here, so I wanted to go over that real quick. But like an example of these, as I looked up the Horizon oil spill in the Gulf, and the Exxon Valdez, because I remember as a kid, the Exxon Valdez spill in Alaska was like this big, huge thing. Everybody was talking about how all the science. I looked up the science talking about how it's going to have this irreversible ecological damage. All these things are going to happen, and now it's fine, perfectly fine, back to the way it was. Some species came in slower, some faster, but now the entire area looks like it was completely untouched by this oil spill that all the climate scientists said was going to have irreversible damage. The same thing about the Horizon oil spill on the Gulf Coast. This oil was going to be everywhere. It was going to destroy all these things. But come to find out, the oil broke down. There was a little bit of an algae and a bacteria that was in the ocean. It eats the damn petroleum and everything's fine. Like, I don't think uh, my most honest position is sounds rude, but I think that that liberal perspective that kind of comes in that philosophy, it ends up putting humans on this pedestal that says we're so special and we can save all these things, and completely doesn't recognize that we're just a minuscule part of the picture that is flowing with Mother Earth, and we're nothing special.
I would agree with that point again, but I think we have had more of an impact than maybe you believe or would like to talk about or whatever. And I do think that human beings, yes, we should actually live in that way, but we don't. And I think that our lifestyle is a example of that. So again, we have to repeat all the same shit that we've argued about up to this point. I don't really have the energy to do that. But I do in some part agree with you. I do think that environmentalists, I have a lot of issues with the environmental movement, probably for similar and probably very different reasons for you as well. Because they do tend to um, perceive human beings as special or different, and we should feel guilty for that reason, about that. And one, I don't think that's a very effective strategy in getting people to change. That's not going to work. You can't guilt people into changing their behavior. I mean, sometimes that works, but that's generally not a good strategy to go with. So yeah, I guess that's yeah. I do think that human beings, human nature, this is all a part of it. This is all a part of what's possible. Doesn't mean it's good for us or for other beings. And I do care about
Correct.
that, and that's again where it comes
So
down
at
to
the end of the
values.
day,
So
are you a humanist or an environmentalist?
I am
Oh,
neither.
come
I
on.
would gladly say I don't want to be one or the
Oh,
other.
you're
I
choosing
think that
on me.
there's
You won't
probably
let me
things I
push you
can.
to the logical
Oh
conclusion.
no, no. I think there's probably values I could pick out of each of those that I like and maybe incorporate into my own worldview. But I would say I'm neither. But yeah, that's my
All
takeaway.
right. It was good talking to you again. I hope we can hit some other subjects. And I know that I'm rough when it comes to these things, and you're a saint for for dealing with me. And I'm
Oh
sure
well,
other people
that's
will other people think of the same thing.
yeah. It's funny. I started this thing on my podcast where I have a phone number people can call and they just go straight to a voicemail. So I'm like, hey, you have a message. I'll respond to it on the podcast. I'll include it at the beginning. I've had two people call in specifically about the episode we had, and I agree with their points, but I'm not like going to take down an episode by any means. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there were certain points that you made during that episode that people really got rubbed the wrong
What was
way,
it?
and it's actually it was about your views on race. I think there were some
Are you
points, and
saying
I'm not going
real?
to go over it. If you want to listen, yeah,
I'm
yeah, I know that. I
sorry.
know that
I know that
that
rubs people the wrong way.
yeah, and yeah, no, that's not even
Oh,
really what it was about. But there's a whole other thing. But it's you. Basically, I'm just trying to say yes. You play rough, and I think that can be intimidating for certain people. I know why. I think just glancing at your experience as a Marine and as a police officer, You're very articulate, so you have a really good way of expressing your opinions. But again, it can come off as a bit abrasive, especially through social media, because social media is a very peculiar environment for human beings to interact in. And I don't know if that's, I
Patrick,
don't know how to always
is
approach
it
it, but
unnatural?
yeah. I don't know if it's unnatural,
Is
but
social
it's
media
creating all kinds of
unnatural?
fucking weird.
I'm gonna break my own
It's
logic
creating
on
all
this.
kinds of. I don't know. It might be, but I do think it does create a certain context for human communication that is very odd and
I'm
maybe
struggling to call
bad.
that
Yeah,
natural.
you know. Yeah, I know. It's recent, it's new, it's weird, it's hard. I have to work with it all the time, partly because I choose to, but also because of the project that I'm doing here with the podcast. And of course, you're a media personality basically at this point. So yeah, we have to work with it the best we can, but I really hope it fucking improves
I
because
don't
this
feel good
shit's
about it
not
myself.
sustainable.
So I'll chicken
I
little
don't,
social
yeah.
media if that's okay.
All right, man. Well, I'll just end it here, and I don't know if that was a fruitful discussion for either of us. No offense on that, but I think that we at least fleshed out some of our opinions and perspectives. But
It'll give
I know
it'll
that
give
you,
people reasons to call me a dick. Don't worry about it.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Generally dry day on Wednesday with sunny periods. However, there may be more cloud in the southeast where it will be breezier. After a chilly start, it will be mostly dry on Thursday with some sunny spells. However, it may be rather cloudy in the southeast. Patchy rain will arrive in the north.
These discussions are a deeply personal thing for many of us. There is no media support for science and the pursuit of knowledge. Throughout history, power desires a non-critical populace. I'm not begging for money, but I am pleading that you discuss these issues with the people around you and encourage them to share and subscribe. I'm viewing this work as an attempt to collect information from when people are ready to consume it. That makes this a team effort in the end. The more people that participate, the better discussions we get and the better our outcomes become. I will do my part. You?